Hello, I am the cartoonist M. Rashid. Um, I was thinking, following a line of thought from the previous video, that like I mentioned Al Sharpton in it, and how his settlement machine works to the detriment of the African American community in general, the Black American former slave class community. And it gives the illusion that he's helping us because you can see money transferring from the bad guys to a poor, wronged black person. You know, that all by itself triggers the white racist figure that can't stand it. He's a race hustler, blah, blah, blah. But as we discussed in the previous video, his settlement machine, settling out of court all the time, preventing the precedent of these racism cases to be actually put on the books that can collectively guide the decisions in the right way. If you leave it up to the most racist people in the universe to I'm gonna, decide based on my own background and understanding and heavy biases, what this means without a guidance of legal precedents. You remember there was a very clear time in recent history when the Republicans were actively, ferociously making sure all these federal judges were white Republicans. So if there's no clear guidance in racism law from this body of precedents, if there's no clear guidance by design, deliberately made sure every single case like that was settled at the court so there wouldn't be any clear guidance. And all the judges are at-order encoded anti-black, and you're counting on me to use my understanding and intelligence to reasonably come up with a solution to something where there's no clear guidance, then I'm gonna hang you from the tree because you're a blackie. That's how they go. Hence, all the black men in prison over nonsense. That mentality, that figure, the judge with that setup is a major component of the prison industrial complex, which is slavery 2.0. All that on purpose. None of it's an accident. Every piece fits inside of the picture. So I'm thinking about this and walking that down after the last video, but I'm thinking of the white racists at the lower ranks and how loud they are talking about Al Sharpton and his race hustlerism. Of course, they're not hitting it from the angle I'm hitting it at, as you're adding to the systemic racism problem against my people with this settlement machine. Of course, the lower ranking whites would never go that angle. They probably see it and are deliberately covering up by the loudness of their complaints going in a very specific direction. Their direction is, it wasn't a real lawsuit anyway, and y'all are just making it up. Race hustlerness. That's where they put their focus at, which is, of course, nonsense. Just the fact you're saying this means you're racist as hell. But the fact that they're being loud and doing that misdirection tactic is key. Ironically, they're always, the ones on 4chan are always trying to explain that they're not, the real racists are the Jews, and you got to separate us from the Jews. And part of my pushback is that misdirection technique Do I need to fill that in for you while you're pretending to know stuff? So while you're being extra loud and deliberately trying to make me look in a different direction and not the point that I just made just now and in the previous video, while you're deliberately trying to keep me from looking at real systemic racism hurting me, you're very loudly trying to get me to look over there while you're saying, it's only the Jews, it wasn't us. Anyway, so while you're having me look over here, being very loudly, that's my red flag. Perhaps you're being too loud all the time about a lot of stuff. I told you before in the early videos of this channel, I see straight through you. Perhaps you're too loud sometimes, so that people who see straight through you know where to look because of how loud you are. How about shut up? Because if you don't shut up, people will be able to follow the clear signs of your sloppiness. That's why. Nobody's louder than you. Nobody's louder than the people who most often like to spin MLK's thing. You would think it would be the white liberals and stuff. They do. Of course they do. But a surprising number of the white conservatives will spin MLK stuff and like racism isn't real and stop looking at the color of skin and that stuff. When there's a clique, a particular clique of white conservatives that do that all the time, you know, and the way they do it and how it sounds, especially when they get the black Republicans on board to help them. You know, it is a very specific flavor to it. I don't want to chase that down right now. All right. Okay, so this cartoon was inspired by another figure who is also extraordinarily loud. And that's the white racist aristocracy's kids. The biracial group, often dealing with issues of identity crisis for obvious reasons. But they're when they get on board of deciding to be take on their black identity and to take it on publicly as figures of Hollywood. This stands out because I already mentioned before Hollywood's penchant for inventing black character types. And they already monopolized the film industry so that you got to go through them if you want any chunk of that big money, any chunk of a career in that life. You got to go through the monopolized gates of white supremacy that is Hollywood, the entertainment branch, the formal mass media indoctrination machine of whiteness. You got to go through that if you want a chunk of that money and a career in that life. And that machine has created these black character types. And if you, as a black actor, want to play that game, you have to be what they say being black means for their purposes and the purposes of the greater machine. So it's easier to do that if you don't get a black American of the former slave class to do that dance. It's easier to get them to go along. If you get an actual ADOS actor, American Descendant of Slavery actor, and try to conform them to that thing, it's hard. They're gonna give pushback. They're gonna be mad. they're gonna be talking trash on social media. It's gonna be a thing. They're gonna in their memoirs they're gonna talk about you. So it's easier to get two other figures to do it. Let's say three. The one they prefer to get to do it is white people in blackface. If they could get away with that, then there wouldn't be any issue other than from the, the populace. If they get, if only I can get Robert Downey Jr. to do it. And he was great in that one role. It's like, don't you want to be a black actor, like, permanently? At least for a scheduled 20 films, and just, I don't have to deal with that. If they pulled Al Jolson and them off, they would. Can't do that in the modern day yet. The other two figures that they would get to do it is the black immigrant who does not give a shit. He will partner with them in a heartbeat, and yes, I will. How high? That's why I have a hard stance. I'm not watching no more of that. And I'm done. Put a black immigrant in a black American role, and I'm not watching it. I'm done. I've already reached my line. And the other figure is their kids. They get their kids to do it. Find a biracial actor and get them to lean into their blackness, and now you're in that role. So they can get their kids to do it. So while their kids are on the tour of their blackness, leaning hard into their blackness, they're very loud. Every other word isn't, of course I'm black. So, hey, it's, you hear it from across the room where you're not even watching TV. It's like, who is this saying they're black all the time? Is this necessary? Is that how black people talk? It's like, and I'm black, right? And of course, blah, 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 especially when they're comedians. It's over the top. But that's the direct inspiration for this cartoon, is that, like, how they sound. Okay, yeah, we heard you the last time you said you were black. Okay, Mr. Biracial, I know the challenges that come with that life. So watching you do that and put that performance on, it's coming across a certain way. Especially right now, while y'all competing with the immigrants for it. I'm interested to see how that power dynamic is going to work. How rather it topple and ADOS comes into their own with the help of Tony and Yvette and the movement. I don't want to see that power dynamic, do whatever it's going to do. I would prefer the whole edifice just topples the hell over and y'all, like, go do something else. Play yourselves. Anyway. Peace.